Hi, it's Gadget UK here again, this time back with a rather sexy looking A1200 actually. This is really nice, it's a privilege to work on this. You can see it's got the new keys here from the Kickstarter campaign, or was it Indiegogo? I forget. I'll stick a link up there or down below and stuff to the place you can buy these from. I forget the name of the place now. But you can pick different colour schemes there for the keys. And obviously this guy has gone with black and white. I've got a black and white set myself actually. I might do a similar thing at some point with one of my systems here. And he's got the clear case. I think the same company that's doing the keys did a case campaign as well, and you can see he's gone for the transparent case. So this is one of my first time looking at these, and they're really good. I mean, you can see that they put a little cut-out sort of thing here that you could remove, I think, to stick a display screen if you've got like not the Gotek, but the what's it called, the Lofreg one. But you could put a screen there. I think that's what that's for. Still got Amiga printed on there, which is nice. But it's got these nice brass or whatever they are screw mounts. Can you see? Embedded in the plastic. Now, not all the screws are in here. He did explain this, the chap who sent this to me. It's from one of my patrons, this, Alex. So from what I understand, the problem with this, keyboard and a mouse are acting weird. I think he was saying that some of the keys play up, like C and V and maybe a couple of others. And at the same time that happens, the left mouse button stops working. Now, the first thing I thought was CIA. And it may well be the CIA. I think I had a quick look at the schematics before this arrived. And I wasn't convinced it could have been a CIA because the left mouse button and the keyboard seem to be handled differently. I could be wrong, I'll have a look at the schematics in a minute, but they're handled by different parts of the system there. So we'll start by just connecting this up and seeing what it's doing. So I've got it connected up here. The first thing is I can hear it clicking from here somewhere, and I think this is the floppy emulator he's got here, the Gotek. So there it goes, click. Click, it says it's doing a seek. So anyway, that's that. So it boots up pretty quick. It comes up with some sort of Amiga kit. I'll show you actually. Let me just power cycle it. Amiga kit 40 or something. I don't know. It's got some sort of customised ROM or something, I think. You'll see. There you go. AmigaKit.com. ROM 40 over here. So yeah, we'll find out what that is when we go inside there in a bit. I'm guessing it's a licensed update to Kickstart 3.1. So you can see the left click works, maybe it's the right click that doesn't. Now my understanding is if you right click here, or even click up here somewhere, you should be able to get the menu there. Let's just go in here, into a folder or something. Let's just see. So look, I can't get the options up. We should have some options thing come down here, I'm sure, where you can look at the change settings like view files, list all files, not just ones with icons, etc. So, and this is using my own mouse, this, by the way, not his mouse. If I move the mouse cable at the back, press the buttons, you can see I can move it with the left one, but the middle one and the right one aren't doing anything at all on anything. So, yeah, we've definitely got a mouse problem there, so I think I'm going to investigate that first. It might not be related to the keyboard issue. The other thing we can do is just test out the keyboard. Let's just get a shell up, that's the easiest way. I think you said C, V, see those are working. If I just go along the top here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so I did the jump cut there. I've not tested every single key, but you know what, all the ones I have tested are okay. So, I mean, I think he said that when the keyboard plays up, the mouse plays up, but right now, I would say the mouse is playing up. Because we should be able to see some options here by doing a right click. Right click is not doing anything. Clicking up here is not doing anything, unless this is just something to do with this ROM version. I don't think so. So to rule out incompatibility with this motherboard, because, believe it or not, some of these USB adapters for mice on the Amiga don't work in some of the later 1200 revisions. Let's just rule it out. Let's just use a normal mouse and see if the right click works then. I mean, it'd be nice if it did work, but not in the sense that we then need to work out why it doesn't work. So that's left click, right click, look, right click works. So there we go. It is those adapters. There's some sort of voltage or timing difference that means when you come to use one of those USB adapters, it may not work on your board. So I mean, we can investigate that. It might be interesting to have a look at what the difference actually is. It could be something to do with the shift register that sits there, actually, thinking about things. It's hard to use this mouse because obviously it's a ball mouse, because it's not optical. But we can now right click. It does leave me wondering whether there's anything wrong with this Amiga at all, actually. I mean, it did say intermittent keyboard problems. So I guess I need to try and work out, would there be any way, if that shift register was messed up by the USB adapter, would that have any bearing on the keyboard? I don't know. Maybe we've just got two separate issues here. So anyway, I'll do a bit more testing. I think what I'll perhaps need to do next though is take the lid off, take the Gotek out and put a normal floppy drive in, just so I can run sys-test. In fact, we'll do that now. So there are only a couple of screws holding the lid on here. Got one at the top and one at the bottom. And then all being well, if we just carefully flip this over, just let the screws fall out if we can. They're not going to fall out, are they? And then hopefully the lid should come off. So we can just put that down there. The wire's nice and long there. I want to try and avoid disconnecting the keyboard if I can. So let's just move this down, just have a look at the board here. So we've got a compact flash IDE adapter here. I'm not sure what that's doing actually. Why would you do that? Why would you not just have a cable coming off with an IDE? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, that's a compact flash card, so yeah, it's good as any other type of compact flash adapter maybe. It's got a new ribbon here, the membrane for that he's swapped out. Put a new one in. This motherboard looks immaculate actually. He did say he'd recapped it, so yeah, we can see it has got what look like replacement capacitors. Solder points aren't bad on those actually. He's done a good job of those if he did those himself. Under here, let's just carefully lift the keyboard up this way, just a little bit like that, so you can see the new ROMs in there. Kickstart's 3.1 version 40.68. Yeah, the motherboard's looking really good, and we've got what looks like maybe just a 4 meg RAM expansion there. It's got a Xilinx chip on it. It's got two Xilinx chips on it actually. So anyway, let's just put that there carefully, and we will just see if we can get this out. It's blue tacked in, look here. So let's just see if we can disconnect the power. There we go, that's the power. Disconnect the data. There we go, it came off pretty easy. And I'm guessing if we just carefully, there we go, lift this out. Let's try and lift that blue tack. I don't want to break his 3D printed harness here. It's quite a good idea actually. And we'll just carefully just put that out of the way somewhere safe. And we'll temporarily just bring in a real floppy drive. Just because I've got like sys-test that I can use to test some of the functionality on this. Why is that not clipping on there very well? There we go. We'll just carefully just set the drive there. Let's just make sure it's not going to short on anything. It's not. And we'll put sys-test in. I'll reseat the keyboard back in its normal position, just so we can get the lid back on just for a minute or two while we test this. So I booted straight into sys-test there from floppy. Let's test the memory out first. So I've got 6 meg. Let that go through a number of times. Still going through and testing the RAM there, but I just thought I'd point that out. Can you see that? Yeah, somebody's melted that when they've been trying to get access to the caps and things there. That's something that's can be easy to do. When you're removing capacitors to recap one of these, and I will be doing a video on this shortly actually because I need to recap mine. Get Kapton tape and foil around some of these things just so that you don't accidentally do that sort of thing to it. Yes, the RAM's only gone through a few times there, but you know what? There's no errors of that, so let's just ignore that for the moment. Let's have a look at the CIA timers maybe. Again, that's looking alright, isn't it? Yeah, see the mouse is working alright. Let's just connect the joystick up. Let's try that as well. Get that to the other port. This has only got one button, this joystick. Again, that's working okay. I think this is going to be one of those things that I need to do extensive testing on though, because apparently the keyboard and the mouse thing tend to be intermittent, but I think we've ruled out the mouse, the issue with mouse already. I mean, I could just unplug that now and swap over to the other one. In fact, let's do that. Let's just toggle between them and just see. So I powered it down while swapping over to my USB mouse. This is the USB optical mouse. Let's just do mouse and joystick. Look, right button's not working, I'll show you. Left one is, right one isn't. So I'll just unplug that. I'll do that while it's on actually. You can sort of get away with it if you're careful. It's plugging them in where you get more of a chance. And I plugged the other one in. And I'll show you this, we haven't even rebooted. See? So there we go, that's one problem identified. I'd like to, let's say, do a bit more research, understand what revision of board he's got here, maybe compare to some of the, a different revision board, see what might be different around the mouse parts. It's going to be something to do with a capacitor or a resistor or even an inductor or something there. That's what I think is going to be the difference around that. Could even be that it's got a different type of chip. So for example, there's a shift register. I don't know whether that's, I think that's just used to read the buttons, some of the buttons actually. It might be the right button. I honestly don't know. I honestly can't remember off the top of my mind. But if it is, you never know, it could be that shift register. There might be nothing wrong with it. It might be a case of they've used, I don't know, an LS for argument's sake, and then on another board they've used a HC or something like that. So the other interesting observation, what I would point out is mine, this is using my adapter and my mouse. As you can see, the right button is still not working. Yeah. If I just carefully unplug that, and I plug in his adapter, that's in, and plug my mouse into that adapter, you'll see it is working. Can you see that? So we're using my adapter still. So we're using my mouse, but his adapter. And I would say, for the most part, it's okay. But I did see a few minutes ago, I was right clicking, it stopped working, then suddenly it worked again. Which makes me think, yeah, it is all about the board revision differences, because I've also just done a bit of research online, and people are reporting this. On some of the later motherboards, these mouse adapters don't always work very well, and it seems to be the right mouse button stops working. So, yeah, whilst it's working now, again with my same mouse but his adapter, that is definitely 100% the problem he's having with the mouse. Still haven't seen any issues with the keyboard. Let's go into the keyboard test. Yeah, very strange. Keyboard at this point in time seems fine. Yeah, it's a 1D4. One thing I'll point out is this was not straight. So I straightened that out earlier, but yeah, just bear in mind, you need to make sure these things are straight when you plug them in, like that. So very carefully inspecting around this, and I've discovered a lot of corrosion actually in a few places. I've removed the compact flash interface there. So I've zoomed you in a fair bit. I might put you on macro in a minute, but can you see the pins on this chip here are all green? These components here are looking a bit green and dark grey. All the stuff around there, around these two caps. Now it has been recapped, and he's done a good job of the caps are okay. They might just need a bit of flux added on them, reflowing them, and after I've got rid of the corrosion. There's a bit of corrosion here still, some corrosion on those. Over here is not too bad, but just tilting the camera, can you see those look a bit grey there? Look at that, that's awful, that resistor there. So there's a little bit of cleaning up I need to do there. Initially I'm just going to use a cotton bud with a bit of vinegar and just clean over these areas and just see if that improves it. So I'll start on this area here. Just as I say, just a cotton bud with some vinegar here, just on each side of these. Once we've cleaned this up a bit, what I'll have to do is get a bit of flux onto each of these and just reflow them. But I mean, this is right next to the keyboard connector here. I mean, I'll get some vinegar in there in a minute and just toothbrush that. So we might have a trace barely hanging on. This is the sort of repair I don't like to do really, especially when it's for somebody else, because you never know, something that's just hanging on might just give up and we might get the keyboard not working at all. This chip here, I think it's the audio op amp actually. That might tie in with why we've got two caps there. So that's only going to affect the audio, but the stuff around it might not necessarily just be related to audio. Some of it could be keyboard related, and we could have some corrosion got under there. So you're on macro there. You can see this resistor here is awful, seriously awful. This chip is going to need reflowing, and obviously some of the connections around here as well. This one here is, again, hopefully you can tell, absolutely awful. Many of these are alright, but you know what, I'll just reflow the ones that are around here anyway. But yeah, predominantly that resistor, and around here. I might just look these two resistors up to see where they are. If you follow the line there, that one's R329. And the one here, I don't know, I need to follow the line over here. I'm guessing it's that one there maybe. So we're on the ASD mat now, and I've cleaned up a little bit with a fiberglass pen, I don't know if you can see, and just used a scratch tool just to scratch the corrosion off the little components and things around there, including that chip. But the next thing I'm going to do, and the sound's been cutting out and going intermittent a little bit, and if you press down a little bit it would come back. So this is definitely an issue with this board. It's not the issue. I've also had an update on the button. Apparently it's the left button that stops working, not the right one. So we've still got something there to investigate, but if the corrosion here is anything to go by, I think the mouse problem might just be one of the caps that side there, probably. So we just need to do similar things: inspect, clean up anything where the corrosion is, reflow with some fresh solder. I don't know how that chip's going to come out after a reflow. It might look alright, we might need to replace it. I'd rather try and avoid it because we might lose pads and things. That's the danger when you get corrosion on these. It's one of the reasons I haven't done one of these repairs yet. I just can't be bothered with them generally, because it's very, very fiddly and time consuming, especially when everything's packed in really super tight like this and it's all surface mount stuff. But you can, with patience and stuff, do repair like this. It's not really a problem. The other thing I'll just show you, if you look underneath here where the keyboard connector is, you can see that's been reflowed. And yeah, one or two of the pins look really bad on there actually, so that might explain the keyboard issue. So I will visit that as well. But right now I'm just going to have a go at reflowing this actually, and we'll do some of the small components and things around there. I can't show you all of this as I do it. I'll have to show you the result, just because I need to be looking through magnification while I'm doing this really. I'm almost reluctant to try and solder it from this distance like this. Let's just try. What I don't want to do is bridge. There you go, that's alright actually. You can see those first few pins there, it came out pretty good. Let's just add a little bit more solder. Trying to avoid touching that cap. Yeah, that leg there's awful, that's going to need some work. You can see there, I just did manage to touch that little cap there, look. Got a little bead of solder. This is what I don't like. This is why I don't like trying to do this on camera. There we go, that's a bit better. Anyway, I'll do the rest off camera and show you the result. So I still think there's a bad via around the sound side of things. We'll have a look at that after. But I've just left this warming up and just watch what it's doing. I'm pressing the single key here. Can you see the Amiga key? I'm pressing V and the Amiga keys light up. And watch what happens when I press the escape. 3 keys light up. And the mouse has stopped working in Workbench. The left click. So, yeah, the clue is that multiple things have been pressed at once. The fact that the Amiga key has been pressed there, can you see that, as we're pressing the thing? That's why the mouse button's not working. So, we do have what I think is a keyboard fault. Control's not doing anything. It was green screen then. Reset. Yeah, so we have a keyboard fault, but I'll just show you something interesting. If I'll just remove that disk, boot into, I'll do Control Amiga. I think that'll work, yeah. Boot it into Workbench. As soon as that comes up, I'll show you. Hopefully the button's not working. Right, so if I click on an icon, and I'll show you this. Watch. Hang on, I need to move the thing up now, don't I? Right, so we're over the icon. Right, so over the icon, click, nothing. But just watch this. If I move up to the top here, and then I try dragging down, the click is working when I press the button. So the click is actually working. What's happening here is the keyboard is detecting a key press, or it's like one whole row. Maybe one of the connections in the keyboard connector there is disconnected just temporarily through the heat, which means it thinks you're pressing a number of things at once, including the left Amiga key. That's what's going on. Now, the other interesting thing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep clicking Workbench there, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to lift the keyboard up. In fact, just move it up now. I've lifted it up. Click, 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 right? Moving the keyboard upside down. Just bear with me, it's not easy to do this. Click, 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 click. Moving it upside down out of the way. Now, when I did that last time, it started. Oh, there you go, look. That's just from moving the keyboard out of the way. It's sat upside down on the other side of the Amiga. And if I lift it back up and put it back in its position again, and click, it stops working again. So what I was doing there, I'll show you, is just carefully lifting it here and flipping it straight over like that, there. And at the point when you do that, the click works, as you can see. So yeah, I don't like faults like this, because I don't think it's the ribbon. I mean, if I keep clicking on that there and move the ribbon around, yeah, so I can go in, I can click, I'm moving at different places. So you know what, it's not the ribbon. It's got to be something inside the keyboard. Like maybe the keyboard is rubbing on that bit there or something, I don't know. It's really mysterious, this one. Could it be the connector? I don't see how it could be the connector. I don't get this. Don't get this. Can you hear the sound there? A little bit of interference. So yeah, we've still got a bad via somewhere around the side of the sound side of things. I found that the space bar wasn't pressing at all. It wasn't working. It was like stuck down. So maybe it's got something to do with this replacement key set here. So there were two springs like that. I think there was a spring there. How on earth do you clip this back on here now like that? It wants to go this way up, doesn't it? I have to do this off camera, I can't do it like this. So I could be wrong, but it looks like with the keyboard connector, can you see that? Can you see those dirty marks? It looks like there's muck inside the connector actually, I think is, I don't know, it's conductive and it's having sort of reaction, so I'm going to just wipe that down gently with some IPA. I think he's replaced this though, it's a new membrane, so it can't be the membrane, I don't think. Yeah, I mean that's looking awful. It's like corrosion that's somehow got its way onto there. I'm going to inspect this with magnification as well, I think. So I've cleaned the ribbon edge up a little bit. I'm a bit concerned what that is. You know, what's in there. I can see some like black marks. I mean, the soldering underneath would suggest that this maybe had been replaced, but I don't know, maybe it hasn't. Maybe this is the original connector here. I'll ask him if he swapped this or not. I mean, there's no moisture in there. One thing I did do after I cleaned up was use the hot air set to just around 100 and just very lightly go over all this area here, just to make sure there's no moisture from anything around here. So where are we? Well, this is the issue. Believe it or not, he's replaced this. This is a brand new membrane. This has only been disconnected, I would say, approximately once before it started losing a row. So I, reconnected this, lost a row. I then inspected, couldn't see any issue with that at all. There was obviously some black marks and things in there, so I've cleaned that out. But yeah, I reconnected it again. All of the keys started working apart from, I think, a column. We had a column missing at that point. Disconnected it, inspected it. It looks okay. I've not really cleaned this with anything. I'm just seeing, it looks like we've got a gap there now at the top, have we? Or maybe we haven't, maybe it's just a shadow. But yeah, I'll show you up close on macro in a minute. You get little marks in the middle where the pin makes a connection, yeah? And when you look at that now, from a distance, it just looks normal. Looks like there's no damage, it looks fine. But it's worn. Each one of those little dots in the middle there is completely worn off. It probably needed a new one of those at some point in the past, perhaps when, before this was swapped out. But the other thing I would point out, and I don't like, this is one of the reasons why I haven't done anything with my 1200 on my channel yet. I've not took it down to strip it down to show you it, etc, etc. The reason being is you only need to disconnect and reconnect this a few times if you're unlucky, and you can start to wear the points off. So just by virtue of, maybe you're dealing with a fault and you're going in and out and you're taking the keyboard out a few times, maybe as many as 6 or 7 times, that's enough, that's it. You are on your way to needing a new membrane. Now I thought on these new ones they'd use like a metallized surface, but it doesn't look that way. It looks like some sort of like nickel conductive paint or something. I'll put you on macro. Can you see the little dots in the middle where the connector makes a connection? they're see-through. If I hold this up to the sunlight, I can see straight through those little holes. Each one of them is a hole, which is why, like I say, just after maybe 2 or 3 in total connects and disconnects, as I've been trying to understand what's going on with the keyboard here, you know, following on from the, you know, you saw what happened earlier here, this was just yesterday, where if you flip the keyboard over, that problem with the mouse and the keys not working suddenly stopped. As soon as you put it back this way, came back again. That was a clue that it was this connector, and it was at that point when I disconnected it, maybe for the second time, that we started losing rows and columns. So, you know, and this is without doing anything to here at all, other than just cleaning, you know. You can see, like I say, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see. Maybe you can see this colour of my skin underneath, but any of those little dark black points in the middle there, it's worn through. It's worn through. You have to be really super careful with these. So there are a couple of options I was contemplating. We could, you know, do what I did on previous videos with these, where you cut little copper slivers of tape, wrap it over the other side, you know, lead right up to the very edge almost, and use a little blob of conductive ink. That's one way of doing it. But, you know, that's going to get messy really quickly. I'm hoping it's not disconnected here, because it kind of looks, maybe I'm just seeing a shadow, I don't know. It looks a bit strange just down there at the bottom. The other thing you can do is just cut off maybe a millimetre. Don't cut off to the cut part there, just cut off a little bit, just a millimetre to start with, because when you push it in, the connections will be a bit further up here, and in theory that might just work. But I need to inspect this bit here, because I'm not happy with the way that looks actually. Yeah, that bit there, it's just a shadow. Can you see? Just there, it's just a shadow from the green bit, just lifted up a little bit on that side. But you know, it's like, say, from a distance, you know, this is what we were looking at to start with. When I first looked at it, you look at it like that, it's like, oh, this is alright, it's brand new, nothing wrong with it. This pin here is the most worn, and I think that was the issue actually with the not the space bar. Some of the function keys seemed to be playing up at the time when the mouse was not working, and then like C and V seemed to be doing weird stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty convinced. I mean, there could be a separate issue with this yet. This is the thing with this is the caps have leaked. The caps, you know, have done some damage there. The audio section, we've still got intermittent noise there occasionally. So I think before I do anything with this, I'm going to resolve the audio issue, because what I don't want to be doing is fix this now and then disconnect it, disconnect it, connect it, disconnect it, connect it, disconnect it, because we're going to be back to where we are here now. I'd rather do this last. Let's just deal with this last. So the next thing I will do, let's say, is I'm going to see if I can work out which one of the wires around here is causing the problem with the audio. I'll inspect further afield, see if anything else needs cleaning up and reflowing, and then we'll finish off by, what I'm going to do is just, I think I'm going to trim. I'm going to trim 1 or 2 millimeters just off the very end there, and then we'll see if it's working. So it's been on test this morning. The sound issues haven't reoccurred, you know, that crackling noise, but it was doing it last night before I powered it off, so I'm not convinced there's still not a bad via around here. But I thought, well, rather than just leaving it on test, let's deal with some of the other things as well. So you can see here around the video encoder, yeah, green pins. I would probably clean up that shunt, I think it is there, that resistor 4R7, 4.7 ohms. Just to show you the pins there looking a bit green on each side. You can see that. Yeah, it's not looking great. So I'll clean up around there, mostly just with a fiberglass pen, a little bit of vinegar, a bit of IPA, just very carefully. Gently does it. You can see the stuff I did here yesterday. It's looking really clean around there now. So it's just a question of, let's say, vias. Now, in regards to the audio, the crackling, there is some components up here to do with the audio, actually, and those are looking awful. These are looking awful. Let me see if we can just give you a closer look. If you look at the board that way up, can you see this? These look terrible. And down here, look at the solder points on those, really dull. But again, I'll choose, you know, vinegar, cotton bud, then fiberglass pen, and clean up with IPA. The rest of the board is looking generally very good. I don't see any other issues than those things I've just pointed out. I think maybe up on this end here, can you see we've got, again, some components here that just look like they just need a little bit of a clean more than anything. So I'll just do the same thing, a little bit of vinegar, fiberglass pen, IPA, cotton buds, toothbrush, etc. But you know, this is working. Like I say, it's been on for, I don't know, 3 hours this morning, no problems at all. Other things to point out, you know, I showed you that someone melted that when they tried to remove one of the caps in the past. They've melted that. There's a few things melted, you know, on corners of plastic connectors and things. One thing you can do, and I'm not going to do this, but I'll point this out, you might want to do it himself. You can bring a craft knife in or some cutters, and you can cut off these extra bits here on the sides to make it level. So there'll be a hole there, yeah, but it'll just look tidier. You could do the same with this here, I guess, but it's just cosmetic, and you can't really see it. Well, you can't see it at all when it's inside the clear case there, so it's no big deal. And in general, this board is in very good condition, actually. It's just a little bits of corrosion. It looks like someone caught it, perhaps just in time when they did the recap. The underside of the board, as you can see, is pretty good. There's a little bit of flux on maybe one or two things. I did reflow that point on that cap there because that was awful. Now, there is still a chance there is a keyboard fault somewhere, or a bad trace or something, but I don't think so, because you saw yesterday what was happening is the exact fault that he described, the left mouse button not working and certain keys not working. I think at the point when I tested, like C and V weren't working, and one or two others. I just carefully, didn't disconnect anything. This has been connected all the way along. We just lifted the keyboard over, suddenly it started working and the mouse was alright. Put it back down, mouse button not working, keys not working, lift it back up. Mouse working, keys working, and you could just repeat that. I just did that 3 or 4 times, and we booted sys-test there, did the same thing in sys-test, went to keyboard test, lots of keys not working, lift the keyboard up, all the keys are working again. That was a clue that it was something here. And then, as I say, just from inspecting it, looking at it, and I only cleaned it very gently with a cotton bud. I didn't use a fiberglass pen or anything like that on it. So it's super hard holding the camera and trying to show you, but you need to use a scratchy tool just on these solder points like this, because the solder's got some awful stuff, like crystallised onto the surface of it. But if I just do this just gently, yeah, I appreciate you can't really see very much there. This side's not too bad, look. And I'll just go over it with a fiberglass pen, cotton buds and stuff, and it should look good as new. This is not going to need much more. If it was worse than this, I'd reflow it, but this is just like light surface corrosion that hasn't been cleaned off these components. And you can see the pins on that chip looking a bit dull there, actually. But that one there, after we reflowed earlier, it looks alright. And there's a close-up on that one. Yeah, so the surface corrosion has scratched off those little components there. Just use the fiberglass pen here now, just very carefully. And it should come up good as new though, I think. Yeah, it's looking a lot better, that, already. You can see I'm wearing an ESD wrist strap here whilst doing this. That's something you want to absolutely ensure when you're working on one of these motherboards like this. Any motherboard really, but the fact this is somebody else's, I'm taking extra precautions because, I don't want to risk anything going wrong with this at all. It's already got a fault. I don't want to add to problems here. But yeah, I think that's going to be alright now. If I just clean up with a bit of IPA, it should be looking good as new, that. Yeah, so I had a good scrub around these components around here, and I think you'll agree that's looking a lot better. Can you see the difference? And this one here as well. It's quite difficult to get into there because that cap is obviously quite close to it, the electrolytic I mean. I will toothbrush over that in a minute as well, just to make sure it's super clean. But yeah, already looking a lot better there, I think. Yeah, so there's a macro on that area. You can see that is a lot better. That's a lot better. So the next thing we're going to tackle are these components down here, actually. There's your before shot. So there's a quick look after cleaning up. You can see that's not too bad. Yeah, they're a bit dark grey, but you know what? They're okay. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. One of the two of the caps don't look great. It looks like there's kind of like a bit of a fracture where that's joining there. Yeah, so I'm going to reflow that one. This one here's a good example as well. Can you see the pad is to the left there? It's like barely hanging on that. So, yeah, so I'll reflow one or two of these as I go along. We'll clean that up next, I think. But there is tons of fiberglass dust around there. But, yeah, hopefully this is going to come across. But can you see the pin here is kind of green and these are awful. I think people don't really always fully appreciate how much the electrolyte can cause this sort of thing. I'm guessing that when this was recapped, it looked a lot cleaner. But you see, unless you're absolutely, really thorough and you get any of the bits off these things here and off these legs, it kind of spreads. It continues to affect any things that are nearby, which is why on some of these, look at that cap's been replaced, but look at the colour of the point there. That's the thing, even though it's a brand new cap, it's just some of the electrolytes not cleaned up from around there. So I might reflow the resistor in a minute, but I don't know whether you can see, it's like the pad is missing. It's like the solder's soldered onto a little bit of the pad. The top bit's missing here, but there's a trace that goes to a via there. I'm not sure how well you can see that. If I just rotate the camera around and a bit nearer, you might be able to see what I'm talking about there. Yeah, it looks like there's a big blob of solder joining it, but there isn't. It's like half the pad's missing. So yeah, some of these might need a fixed way. You can see I've just cleaned around that. It's looking a lot better. Components up here are looking okay. Yeah, so one or two of these I'm going to have to just certainly reflow and then test connectivity, I think. So after doing all that reflow, and it's been running fine for a number of hours here, you can see you can still click. Now bear in mind the keyboard's not connected at the moment. So I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to cut just 1 millimetre off the ribbon. I'll show you that. Yeah, so you might think because the dot is in the middle, it's a good idea to get rid of all that bit, but then you'd be cutting it back super short, and it might not make a connection, because you've got to remember the connection is in the middle of where the exposed part is. And it's not easy to hold this and film this at the same time. I want to just trim literally 1 millimetre or something off the end here, I think. I need to be very slow and careful and try and get it as straight as possible. Yeah, that's not too bad. A little bit trimmed off there. It just means that it's going to make a connection further up, and as long as you don't pull it while it's in theory, the surface shouldn't get scratched off. So I connected it up. First thing is it seems to be working. The only way we're going to know is with time. Obviously it's going to take time to just let this heat up and see whether it does it again. But the keyboard is now working again, so I'm not going to disconnect the keyboard at all now if I can avoid it. Most of the cleanup, well, nearly all, I would say all the cleanup work's been done, so in theory I shouldn't need to take it back to bits for anything. It's just whether it's, you know, whether we get sound issues again. I think we should do. From the reflowing of the caps and things, there were some pretty bad connections on maybe 2 or 3 of the electrolytics, so that could have been the issue. So yeah, we'll just test it for a period of time now. So it's been on test all day today, actually. If we go into the keyboard now, the one thing I'd point out is the F2 key. Yeah, did you see that? The F2 key is not that clever compared to all the others. I noticed that right from the start, but you know, it does work. There's no issue there. And that's going to be nothing to do with the membrane. And as you can see, the quickest way to test these is to just carefully drag your finger along the whole row like that. Switch the caps lock off. But you can see, you can super quick test this like that. Every single key working still. I've had no instances at all. Let's do Control Amiga. I'll take the disc out. No instances at all of the keyboard issue or the mouse issue. None whatsoever. It's been tested the whole day. And it's been super hot in here actually. It was super cold this morning first thing, no issues, and super hot in the afternoon. So I think we can call it a success. I think it's resolved. None of the sound issues have come back either. You know, that noise, I don't know if I captured it on camera earlier on, but the noise issue never came back either after, you know, resoldering some of the connections on those caps. So I think we did have a few bad connections on the caps there, and it was only 1 or 2 of them. For the most part, the caps have been done pretty well. There's just the odd one that I tried to show that you might have been able to see on a zoom in, where the pin on one side is just off a little bit to the side, so it means you've got to, you know, stream quite a large blob of solder across to join it. But you know what, with a bit of flux I've managed to do that quite tidily. So yeah, I think it's fine actually. We'll cold test this for a number of days, I think. I want to make sure that it is absolutely rock solid, but yeah, I've not seen any more reoccurrences of the mouse thing. So it's been on test for a few days now, hot and cold cycles, you know, first thing in the morning freezing cold, and it's been fine. That's the piece of that ribbon I trimmed off. I don't know if you can see that. It is literally barely 1 millimetre. That's what you want to aim for. And it's been working fine ever since. Now, if you disconnect and reconnect the keyboard several times again, you're going to be back to square one and need to trim it down another millimetre. So, yeah, just bear that in mind. Can you see these 2 particles of solder here? I found these within the on the board, actually, flowing around. One of them was like stuck on a cap, and it was just kind of, I don't know, leaning across and almost touching something nearby. But that's the sort of thing you can get when you're doing those surface mount caps, when you get the iron down the side and you've got a really narrow gap. If you're not careful, you can get bits of solder stuck on the can, and at some point they can come off the can So yeah, the board is nice and clean. I'll give you a quick look in a minute. I don't want to disconnect the keyboard again, so I'm going to have to be very careful about how I do it. So Lotus 3 is a good game to just kind of burn-in test it. You know, you can just leave it going round because it goes around the demo. And the nice thing with this is it does go through all the different modes. You can see like that's the split screen mode, and then it'll do the single mode, etc. You know, you get the title screen coming up, and then it goes round again. So it's yeah, it's a really good thing to test it with. But like you know, this has been going for hours, and if I how'd you get out? This is F10. If we use the left mouse button, you can see it's working. Keyboard works fine, no issues at all. So I spoke to Alex, and he was happy for me to do some changes here to his setup a little bit. You can see at the top there, you can see we've got 8 meg now. The RAM board, I'll show you in a sec actually, it's something created by Edu Arana. Following on from the Terrible Fire stuff actually, some of Stephen Leary's code. So yeah, I'll show you that, that's super interesting. But it's 4 meg, 8 meg switchable. Now the thing is with these 1200s, when you've got this 8 meg here sat on the you know, address bus there for the 68020, you can't use the PCMCIA slot on the side, and it uses 4 meg of you know, that space there. So that's why it's got 4 meg, 8 meg jump out on it. So I'm going to create a switch, I think, for him. I've asked Alex if he wants a switch. It'll just be a wire on a fly lead, all heat shrinked to make it, you know, secure, and he can just fly it out this, you know, out underneath the trapdoor and at the back of the machine somewhere at the side, and there'll just be I'll stick a sticker on it. Do not switch while on. And he can just enable, disable, you know, 4 meg here to allow use of the side PCMCIA slot. But the other thing I did is this. I think that was originally Work 2. I renamed it to Games, and I put A to Z. Copied all my WHD load games in there. Now there's going to be lots of games he doesn't want in there, and there's going to be games that he needs, etc. So I'm going to show you like the A, you know, it's got like Aladdin, Alien 3, you know, there's lots of games I like there, but that's my personal selection from the whole set. But I will give him a couple of discs with those on, and he can work out which ones he wants to stick on, and he can just delete what he doesn't want. He had a Cinemaware folder, so this is all this, he's copied these across previously for WHD Load, but WHD Load wasn't set up properly, it didn't have the Kickstart ROMs in the right folder, so I've moved those. I'll show you where I've stuck them. In the Workbench folder, when you set up WHD Load, obviously you just run the install and then it's installed and you think you're done. Well, you're not. You've got to go into where's it gone now? Is it Devs? Yeah, you go into Devs and you need a Kickstarts folder like that, and you've got to copy in all the ROMs. I think it's not showing all files there. If I do view show all files, yeah, so you need all your different ROMs and the patches, .pat files and stuff, this beta ones and all sorts in there. So yeah, you do need that with Kickstart. You do need that with WHD Load, otherwise some games might not work, but he's got everything there, so every WHD Load game should work okay. There was one game I couldn't find there, Push and Pull. He already had this on the disc and it doesn't run. If you just run it, it comes up with an exception straight away. I'm guessing he's copied that from, I don't know, 500 disc or something, you know. It's the sort of thing that if he's got the floppy for, you could use like something like Reload Kick or something like that, and I'm sure that would work. And then the other thing is on the work partition, I've tidied this up a bit. He had these Workbench ADFs, I've stuck them in here. There was one of mine there, Bionic Commando.adf, he doesn't need that, but his Workbench discs are there, Directory Opus he already installed. I've copied these things into the installs folder. I installed XAD because some of the WHD Load stuff uses that XAD, it's like a compression library, I think. What else? I put him on Escape Go. This is a CD32 game. You can just, I've created a script for it, so if you just run that, it comes up with this, and if you just click OK, it will start. In fact, let's just do that. Just click OK, I'll show you it runs. So yeah, that's a CD based game, and I've just copied the whole thing on there because he's got the space. If he doesn't want it, he can delete it. But you know what? It's a pretty good game actually. Just turn that up a bit. You can see you get the full experience as if you were playing it from a CD. Pretty sweet. Let's just quit out of that. Yeah, so that's that. Pro, I think that's just a sound tracker of some sort, I don't know. You probably might want to delete that. I just copied it across because it was in the same directory. Time Gal, you'll have seen that before on other videos, so yeah, Time Gal's on there, and Wasted Dreams. This is another one that's, I think was like a, I don't know, an unreleased CD32/1200 game. Very cinematic and stuff with all this, you know, the FMV intro and all that sort of stuff, as you can see. It's quite cool.
It all began over 2 years
Again, it's
ago.
got a full FMV intro and stuff. This pretty cool. Anyway, let's quit out of that. So I think we're all done. A small thing I'll point out here, at some point this space bar was like not working, it was kind of like stuck down, so I had to carefully pull it off and clip it and put it back on, and I must have spent, I kid you not, about 30 minutes trying to get that space bar back on. They're an absolute nightmare to get back on when they come off those. It might be different when all these keys are off at the sides, and in fact I removed this key just to assist getting it back on. And once I'd done that, it only took a few minutes of kind of like from start to finish of working it out. But yeah, that's just worth pointing out, because I hadn't done anything to it to make it come unclipped so it wouldn't work, but it was just kind of like that, flat. I can't help but wonder if that was something to do with it as well. Maybe it wasn't, you know, the clips weren't on right or something on one side. But anyway, it's okay. There's no damage to that. It's clipped back on. I just thought I'd point it out. So I just thought I'd show you some of the stuff that Alex sent me. I think the mouse is to test, actually. Now, there was supposed to be some green adapter or something, Alex was saying, that goes into, you know, you've seen the black one I did earlier in the video there. It's supposed to plug into that, I think, you know, convert from USB to PS2, and then you plug from PS2 into that little black box that goes into the back of it. But that wasn't there, and I've searched the box 3 times now, and the plastic bag that was around it. There's definitely nothing inside it. So Alex must have that at home. He must have not put it in. It must have fallen on the floor or gone under the table or something. I don't know. I know what he means. It's just a USB to PS2. I mean, I could source one myself. They're only £1 or something. I might have one somewhere. It's not the sort of thing I've had to use myself, though, because all my mice are PS2 ones. Anyway, so that mouse will go back, because that's his mouse. I haven't tested that, but yeah, we replicated the issue anyway with the button, so it's nothing to do with the mouse. But see, he threw these things in as well to keep. So as you can see, I've got a magazine here, Amiga magazine. Amiga format, is it, or something, with the cover disc thing here as well, which is just amazing. I think, presumably that's the one that came with it. I don't know, maybe it's not. So that's fantastic. I will have a read of that a bit later on. That's very much appreciated. I'll put that in my collection. He also said I can keep this as well, which is a Konix Speed King. So yeah, we'll do a restore of this. I've got a giant box of controls that I need to work my way through. It feels like it's a bit loose in the middle. I don't know. And you can see it wobbling around a bit there. So yeah, maybe it just needs a bit of restoration. But yeah, we'll look at that in another video as well. Now we included these were sockets for the CIA, so I'll send these back, because I'm guessing, well, we haven't needed to use these, and he can use them moving forward or something, so those will go back. I asked him about this, and he said, just keep them, just keep them, you know, so really nice of him, really nice of him. So it's the old Kickstart 3 ROMs, so yeah, they're not mega useful. I've got a few sets of these now, but they are useful for testing and things like that. This is a 3D bracket he printed himself. He was saying he doesn't think this will fit, but I'm not sure. I'll ask him about that. I don't know whether he wants me to keep it or whether he wants me to send that back, because that might be for his Gotek. But he also included these as well. Never seen one of those before. It's a compact flash to 1.8-inch IDE. That's the sort of thing you could use in like an iPod or something, because those use those 1.8-inch drives there. And a wonderful new good quality compact flash card adapter here from Amiga Kit. You can see it's Amiga Kit branded there, and it's got the Kickstart icon there. Really nice. Yeah, an Amiga Kit all over the back of it. So yeah, I'll just double check he doesn't want those, but if he doesn't, those will be super useful, because I'm always in need of compact flash adapters actually. Yeah, but I will check the status of these. If he wants them back, he can have them back, but I think his intention was that I would keep them. Sorry, I'm not stuck that back together properly. And the other thing he sent me is a fully boxed A500 here, and it's in very good condition, and it's the Computer of the Year edition, you know, the little gold badge and stuff there. Unopened, you know, the warranty seal's unopened. I've tested it, it works. So I am absolutely thrilled to bits with that actually, because I've not got a boxed A500, and not one that's in as pristine condition as this one. So this might just end up in my collection, I think. But we'll have a look at this in a future video. And the other thing included was his original 1200 membrane, keyboard membrane, original faults 1QA, I think that's a Z or X, I'm not sure, row. So, yeah, I would suggest the fault with this one is going to be here again. It's going to be this gets all worn off. Every time you stick it in and out, it gets worn down. And that looks pretty worn to me, I don't know if you can tell. It looks awful. So here's a quick last look at the board before I send it back. I've got to be quite quick actually because the courier is on the way, so I'll just carefully tilt the keyboard over here. So giving you a zoom in, you can see around here it looks super clean. I cleaned up some of the connections on some of these caps. So I've removed the compact flash card. You can see I reflowed the caps all around here, the resistor, all nice and clean. The pins on this are nice and clean, all done. Back here looks nice and tidy as well now. The other thing I'd like to point out, and you can consider this a review, this memory card here from Edu Harana is fantastic. It's based on Stephen Leary's code actually, Terrible Fire. There's a mark on there to say, you know, credit to Stephen Leary. But you can see, you know, it's got a couple of Xilinx chips on here and some RAM. It's an 8 meg module. This, you can buy this from Amiga Store. It's got a jumper there. It's enabled for 8 meg at the moment. I've got a switch, I'll show you that in a moment, a cable that I'm going to include with this. Now the problem with that, and I asked Edu about this, when the cables are on there, regardless of whether the switch is open or closed, it's in 8 meg. Even when the switch is not closed, and I've double, treble, quadruple checked it. So it's almost like there's some noise or interference or something picked up on the cables, despite the fact the switch's contacts aren't closed, and it's in 8 meg mode. One of the things that Edu suggests is putting a pull-up resistor. So I'm going to suggest that. I haven't got time to do that now, but I'm going to put the cable with it and see if Alex wants to do it himself. He'd need to find the 3.3 volt connector, which is on here, VCC 3.3, and put, I don't know, a 10k resistor from VCC on here, yeah, to one side of the thing there and test it. If that doesn't work, try it on the other side and then test it. That might do it. So here's the lead I'm going to throw in as well. You can see I heat shrinked it off all around there. Just connect that over the jumper position there and you can switch, you know, on or off. But as I say, whether this is on or off, it's 8 meg all the time as soon as this is plugged in. So Alex will have to, you know, on the underside of one of the connections under the PCB, as I say, put a 10k resistor from the 3.3 VCC connection to one side or the other and just retest that. I think he'll probably be able to get that working. So I'd just like to say thanks for Alex to sending me the extra things, the 500 you'll see in a future video. Hopefully you found the video interesting. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next video.